I'm Liz Forbliss, and this is Currents. The Brooklyn Diocese casts its net for new vocations.
Prayer, I think, has gotten all the guys that are in the association where they are right now, and will continue to send us vocations from the African American, the Black community, and the church worldwide.
Plus, a priest with a New York connection is moving closer to sainthood. And it's a gala celebration for a group of young Catholics.
We can bring the youth together, and they have like a dress-up day. They go out, during the year. One of the seminars that we teach is on etiquette.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. 126 years ago, on April 24th, 1886, a young man from Illinois was ordained to the priesthood in Rome. While that by itself is nothing out of the ordinary, since many Americans are ordained in the Eternal City, what makes this ordination so amazing is that this particular priest used to be a slave. Father Augustine Tolton was born in Missouri in 1854. When he turned 8 years old, he crossed the Mississippi River into Illinois with his mother, brother, and sister, escaping slavery. He eventually returned to the place where he first gained his freedom, his home state of Illinois. He became a successful and popular priest there. At age 43, on a particularly hot July day, he collapsed and died of sunstroke. But in his short life, Father Tolton was an inspiration to many, and he continues to inspire. Each year, to mark the anniversary of his ordination, the National Black Seminarian Association celebrates a National Day of Prayer for Vocations. This year, that included Mass at Sacred Heart Church in Cambria Heights, Queens.
Today we're here to celebrate, first and foremost, the gift that God has given to us in our Blackness, and to celebrate with our Black community National Day of Prayer for Vocations. Father Augustine Tolton was the first Black priest in the United States. He was ordained 126 years ago, and the National Day of Prayer is celebrated on his anniversary of priesthood. There's definitely a crisis in Black vocation, especially within the Black community.
There never were many vocations in the Black community in the first place. It's a simple fact that most Black Americans come from a Baptist background or Pentecostal background. So therefore the number of Black Catholics is minimal.
I think the thing that keeps young Black men from considering the priesthood is the stereotype within our communities, and we're here to really kind of help break that barrier.
It's important to have Black priests because of the fact that there are a number of Black Catholics in this country, in this community, and it's a good thing to sort of have priests that sort of look like and have similar experiences as the community that they're ministering to.
It's very important for young Black men to see Black priests, because by seeing Black priests, they also look at that as an option or a possibility, and they will be able to listen more closely to God's call.
It also will help the youth to get interest into religion, which will help them and keep them away from all the trouble that's going on.
We do have a unique responsibility to the Black community and the Black church, but it's only a part of a greater good, which is the church universal. But as in any family, we have to take care of the roof in which we live first.
The idea of praying for Black vocation does not go against the church's unity for priests and for Christ, in the sense that we all are unique, and we all bring our gift to the church. John Paul II said, "Bring your gift of Blackness to the church when you visit Africa." The fact that I'm Caribbean and that I'm Black, that's something that I have to bring to the church.
Is it important to have Chinese priests, or is it important to have white priests? The church is for every nation, every language, and every community must be able to produce the servants of that community. And of course the priesthood is international, it's universal, but you need vocation from every background.
And it shows that being Catholic is not just for people who look differently than Haitian people. It is for all and one.
Prayer has definitely gotten me where I am today, and prayer, I think, has gotten all the guys that are in the association where they are right now, and will continue to send us vocations from the African American, the Black community, and the church worldwide.
And there's more currents ahead. Republicans appear to be lining up to support their likely presidential nominee. We'll have that and the rest of the day's headlines after this quick break. Welcome back to Currents. Well, it came as no surprise to most people. The all but official Republican presidential nominee Mitt Romney swept primaries in 5 states on Tuesday. Romney took New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, and Delaware. According to the Associated Press, the former Massachusetts governor now has 844 delegates, just 300 shy of the total he'll need to officially secure the Republican nomination. And current and former Republican candidates appear ready to rally behind Romney. Tuesday night on CNN's Piers Morgan Tonight, Rick Santorum, who up until a few weeks ago was Romney's biggest Republican challenger, says he will soon have a face-to-face with the man likely to get his party's nomination.
We're going to be meeting with Governor Romney, where our staffs have been trying to put something together. I'm going to be meeting with some of his people actually tomorrow to talk about some things, and then Karen and I will have an opportunity to meet with the governor hopefully in the next week or two. And as you can imagine, the last couple of weeks we've been trying to decompress a little bit, spend a little time with our family, and really haven't had a whole lot, as you say, haven't been out doing a lot of media, talking to a lot of folks. We've been trying to just get my bills paid, get my taxes filed.
Santorum, who is Catholic, dropped out of the race earlier this month after his 3-year-old daughter Bella, who suffers from a rare genetic disorder, was rushed to the hospital. She has since been released. Meanwhile, former House Speaker Newt Gingrich, who is also Catholic, is acknowledging that the end is near, at least when it comes to his hopes of securing his party's nomination. He still plans to play a part in the race for the White House, though.
We're going to stay very, very active. We're working out the details of our transition, and we'll have information for the press the next couple of days. But I am committed to this party. I am committed to defeating Obama. We will find ways to try to be helpful. I do think it's pretty clear that Governor Romney is ultimately going to be the nominee, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that he is, in fact, effective.
Gingrich's best showing yesterday was in Delaware, where he took 27% of the vote, still a distant second to Romney. Could Arizona's immigration law pass constitutional muster? The Huffington Post is reporting that a majority of the Supreme Court appeared sympathetic to the most controversial parts of the law. The High Court heard testimony today, the final day of oral arguments in the case. The federal government is suing over the law, which includes allowing police officers to question people they believe may be in the country illegally. The U.S. bishops have called the law draconian, and today on the steps of the Supreme Court, retired Los Angeles Archbishop Cardinal Roger Mahoney says this is about more than just the letter of the law.
SB 1070 was a major national wake-up call for our country because it called us once again to reflect on how this country was founded, the principles and values that we share, and the liberties that we refuse to give up. And so we focus on the human dignity of each and every created person. And so we see in this struggle not just legal issues, we see the struggle for the value and human dignity.
Cardinal Mahoney took part in a rally organized by Arizona residents opposed to the immigration law. A judge in California has approved a deal that will allow a military memorial in the Mojave Desert. The case goes back 13 years when the National Park Service first announced it was removing a memorial cross from the Mojave National Preserve. Opponents of the cross argued it constituted a government endorsement of religion because it stood on federally owned land. Now, in 2003, Congress stepped in by approving a deal whereby ownership of the property would be transferred to a private property. An appeals court put a stop to the move, but the Supreme Court overturned that decision. A judge yesterday approved a transfer whereby a couple who had been maintaining the cross will donate land to the federal government in exchange for the land where the memorial is located. The cross itself was stolen in 2010. The couple will replace it with a new cross. The situation in the Sudan region is getting uglier. A Sudanese newspaper reports that a group described as extremists attempted to march on an Anglican church in South Sudan. According to a report, security forces stopped the group before it could reach the church. The Anglican archbishop responsible for both Sudan and South Sudan says people in both countries only want peace and have no grudges against each other. The situation in Sudan has escalated since South Sudan seceded from the rest of the country last year. Forces in Sudan have targeted various locations in the south, launching airstrikes on Monday that killed at least 1,200 people. The president of South Sudan called the ongoing attacks a declaration of war. Meanwhile, a clarification to a story we first brought you yesterday. The relief agency Aid to the Church in Need says that a building attacked over the weekend was in fact a Presbyterian Bible school and not a Catholic church as was originally reported. The organization says the situation for Catholics in country is still extremely dangerous. We will have much more on Sudan on tomorrow night's show when I speak with the president of Catholic Relief Services. A vicar general in Nigeria says the church in that country is focused on, quote, living in peace. An Islamist militant group known as Boko Haram has targeted Catholics and other Christians. Earlier this year, the group ordered all Christians out of northern Nigeria. The vicar general for the Diocese of Kano tells the news agency of Nigeria that the church is asking people to return to what their faith tells them and not to politicize religion. The church official is also advising political leaders to let God guide them in their decision-making. Finally, he captured the hearts and minds of a generation, and a musical shares his message with young people. Rome Reports has those details.
It was back in 1984 that John Paul II created World Youth Day. It began relatively small, but in time, millions of young adults started signing up. That group of millions was later referred to as Generation John Paul II. And now a group is deciding to celebrate that movement and its impact with a musical titled Boitiwa Generation. It tells the story of how faith helps young adults live in a complicated world.
It represents the reality of young people who lived under the pontificate of John Paul II, who followed him during World Youth Days. It's a generation that grew up with John Paul II, so it's fitting that the musical is called Generation Boitiwa.
The musical opened for the first time back in the year 2009 in John Paul II's native Poland. In fact, afterwards, there was a standing ovation of 15 minutes. Then last summer, the musical was presented at World Youth Day in Madrid. The group includes 24 professional singers who have plenty of experience on stage. They sing in 8 languages to truly transmit the message of John Paul II. I'm from Santo Domingo, and we in South America live out our religion with joy. So for me to be doing this, especially after his death, I feel excited and privileged because we're passing on his message.
It is truly an interesting experience on both a professional and human level. We talk about the message of John Paul II's generation, which I experienced firsthand. I'm 30 years old. I was born into the generation of John Paul II and was lucky enough to have seen him several times.
Being part of this play at this point in my life is an important step. It gives me the opportunity to apply what I learned and what I do, sharing my art and placing it at the service of John Paul II's message. It was a message he knew young people needed. The musical Boitiwa Generation is a type of modern opera that mixes poetry with rock music. Religion is addressed, of course, but the play doesn't include liturgical songs.
We must talk to young people in a language they understand. It is not about singing in Latin during Mass or playing the guitar in church.
For now, the group is getting ready for its next performances in Malta and Brazil, where the singers will perform in Rio for the coming World Youth Day 2013.
Stay tuned, there's more currents ahead. Coming up, the sainthood cause for a Cuban-born priest moves forward. Welcome back. He fought for independence for his homeland, a stance that eventually forced him to flee his country. Cuban-born father Felix Varela was back in the spotlight recently. When Pope Benedict visited Cuba last month, he spoke fondly of Varela as an inspiration to Cubans and all Catholics. Varela's sainthood cause is underway, and Rome Reports recently caught up with the man who is guiding that process.
For years now, Brother Rodolfo Mioli has been looking into the life of Cuban priest Felix Varela. He's actually the postulator for his cause. Most recently, Varela was declared a venerable by the Catholic Church.
It's a culmination of work that theologians, historians, and scholars have done for years. They all focused their work on recognizing that he actually lived out all virtues.
He died in 1853. The Congregation for the Causes of Saints approved the process in 1985, but it actually began 11 years after that. Regardless of time, Cubans still show great respect for Varela and his legacy.
He was a scholar, a philosopher, a politician, and a patriot. He was one of 3 people sent to Spain to represent Cuba when it was still a Spanish colony. It was a very important task. He was also a priest, a holy priest, which is why he was declared venerable.
The Cuban priest was also a violinist and journalist who promoted the newspaper El Habanero. He was also an inventor. While he was exiled in America, he designed an air-purifying machine for patients who suffer from respiratory problems. His life and impact was recognized by Benedict XVI as the Pope celebrated Mass in Havana's Revolution Square.
Hijo ilustre de esta ciudad de La Habana, que ha pasado a la historia de Cuba como el primero que enseñó a pensar a su pueblo. El Padre Varela nos presenta el camino para una verdadera transformación social, formar hombres virtuosos para forjar una nación digna y libre, ya que esa transformación dependerá de la vida espiritual del hombre, pues no hay patria sin virtud.
On Easter Sunday, New York Cardinal Timothy Dolan officially announced the appointment of Varela as a venerable. Cubans remember this priest as a teacher and an advocate of human rights and freedom. Many have said that he was the first who taught us to think. In fact, the Cuban prize that honors cultural achievement bears his name. It's called the Felix Varela Order. His impact is even recognized by the country's communist government.
When John Paul II visited Cuba in 1998, Fidel Castro gave the Pope the biography of Varela, which was written by Ignacio Rodriguez. It was one of the few copies that still existed. He also gave him the Medal of the Varela Order.
And now that Varela has been declared venerable, Meoli says the work of people comes to a close, so to speak, and the work of God begins. Before being considered for sainthood, Varela must first be beatified. And for that to happen, it must be proven that a miracle took place through his intercession.
And it's worth noting, Father Varela also has a New York connection. He was Vicar General for the then Diocese of New York, which at that time covered the entire state and part of New Jersey. Don't go anywhere, there's more currents ahead. When we return, young Catholics get formal for a gala celebration.
There's going to be dancing, there's going to be a lot of music, going to get the grown-ups involved, you know. Kids are going to show them what it's like to be young again.
And finally tonight, prom season is almost here. Come June, you're likely to see a lot of limos on the streets carrying young people dressed to impress. And while it's a great opportunity for high schoolers to look their best, it doesn't take a prom to make that happen. Here in the Diocese of Brooklyn, the Vicariate of Black Catholic Concerns got the ball rolling early. This past weekend, it hosted its annual Ambassador Gala in Sheepshead Bay. But it was about more than just looking good. It was about family, friendship, and of course, faith.
Today we're having our annual gala of the Youth Leadership Ambassador Program. This will be our third. We can bring the youth together and they have like a dress-up day. They go out, you know, during the year. One of the seminars that we teach is on etiquette. So we ask them to come dressed and it's a time of fellowship with family, friends, and the people who help support the program.
One thing I like about it is that I can wear my fancy clothes that I haven't worn in a while. Coming together, looking nice, taking pictures, laughing, having fun. So
there's going to be dancing, there's going to be a lot of music, going to get the grown-ups involved, you know. Kids are going to show them what it's like to be young again. You know, they're going to show us what it was like to be them when they were younger, you know, jiving and grooving, just mixing it up.
They do help us here. It's their responsibility to sell tickets. It's their responsibility to help sell raffle tickets. We don't get their parents involved, and it's all their total responsibility, and most of them do step up to the plate.
At this time, it is with great pleasure that I announce the Ambassador of the Year. We will start with the Ambassador of the Year for Brooklyn, Mr. Brandon Dingles. This year we have Brandon, who has been in the program from the first year, and we have seen tremendous growth in him. We've seen him develop and become a leader from a really shy 8th grader to now an outspoken 10th grader.
It really is a humbling experience. I'd like to thank them, thank my parents for always being on my back.
Back in the summer of 2009, I really didn't know what I was going to get out the program. At first I was thinking it's another church program, you know, let me go to it, I get something good on my resume and whatever. But when I finally got deep and rooted into the program, and I met Dwayne and I met Miss Marilyn and other good things that were going on, it really became a part of who I am.
It's a great joy that I present to you the Ambassador of the Year for Queens, Mr. Kevin Miller. Now Kevin is going off to college this year, and we are very grateful to have Kevin in the program.
I'm glad I joined because it made me a different person. Like, it opened up my views on life, and like I became more outgoing, just became a whole different person. I used to be quiet, just to myself, you know, make a few friends, but now I'm out there, meeting a whole lot of other people.
Also being honored is Bishop Sansarique, who has supported us since the beginning. Another person who's being awarded is Dwayne Davis. He's the reason why the Ambassador program has made it through his 3rd year.
He's serious, but he can be funny. He knows how to mix it up with the youth and make it interesting for us.
I love working with the young people. They bring great joy to me, and they bring great hope to me of what the future of the church is, because they are, yes, truly present and the future of the church.
And what a great night. Congratulations to all the young men and women there. We wish them many blessings for the future. Well, that is all for this edition of Currents. Tomorrow night, people of faith among those under fire as violence in Sudan escalates. Until then, be sure to visit us online at currentsny.net. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Liz Faublas. Thank you for watching and have a good night.